ことを見かけだけで判断してはいけない。鞘から抜かれし聖剣は輝く刃を解き放ち混沌の園へ旅立つだろう。
So at this point with Eminence and Shadow, I come on here every single week and I just gush and gush about Eminence and Shadow. But at this point, if we're watching the same show, if we're watching the same anime, then you're right there with me, just over the moon about this incredible anime that we have been gifted by the anime gods in Japan by our OG-san over there. You know what I mean? And you know, at this point, like you have to just be so thoroughly impressed. One of the things that impresses me the most about Eminence and Shadow is not its ridiculous and crazy plot that makes sense. It's awesome world building that makes sense. It's amazing character building that is just awesome. And there's so many characters littered across the whole entire world that all seamlessly weave together all the way back to Cid, right? It's not Cid constantly making every girl in the Empire fall in love with him that matters. 2 princesses, by the way, and the smartest girl in the Empire. You know, it's not all of these things, right? It's the fact that all these things seemingly weave back together and seemingly weave all the way back together to Cid. And on top of everything else, like for me, you know, if you have been kind of following the channel, you know, if you have watched any of my content before, then you could probably put together, like, I'm a weird dude. You know what I mean? I will admit that to anybody. I'm a weird effing dude. And with being kind of a weird effing dude, I have a particular sense of humor, right? I have a particular thing that makes me laugh. Like, I might not laugh at something that everybody else laughs at. Like, I have a really sometimes sick and weird sense of humor. And this anime, this show, nails my type of sense of humor, right? This episode starts off with Cid monologuing about how he likes onsens, or how he likes, you know, baths, basically, right? He likes to go and hit up a hot spring, and that's his one thing that, like, his secret desire. That's his thing that he loves. He loves onsens. It's just something that he's always loved. And he goes in there and casually walks in, and Princess ALEXIA is over there as well, bathing. He just walks in like nothing, completely just ignores her existence and just hones in on, I'm going to enjoy this onsen. My boy is outfitted with like a 12-pack. My man got like muscles on muscles, right? Then as he's sitting there, he doesn't even acknowledge ALEXIA as she's freaking the F out. First she's pissed, then she's shy, then she's embarrassed, then she's pissed again. Then she begins to casually talk to this dude. And she just has a normal conversation as she's, you know, stretching and she's doing all kinds of ridiculousness, as basically my man Cid just enjoying being there in the moment. And she was like, you know, you should do this, no. You should do that, no. You should do this, no. And then she gets pissed and she's like, she can't keep her mouth shut anymore, which I laughed at. And she was like, I imagine that in this scenario you would be ogling me and you haven't looked at me once. And and he was like, he's like, but he's like, on the reverse side though, he's like, could you maybe stop peeking over at my Excalibur? And then she hits him with, you call it Excalibur? And she's like, it's not even that impressive. And my man hits us with the most. He says right here, might I ask you to stop glancing over my Excalibur? I was like, I'm effing dead at this point. I lost my shit. Like, I was crying. I was tearing up from laughing so much. Then he hits her with like the most epic line of dialogue, which killed me. Again, he said, don't judge a book by its cover. The sword was merely in its sheath. The sword was merely in its sheath. Then he hits her with some towel move, and he was like, you can't even handle the holy sword. I lost it. He left ALEXIA speechless. My girl was there with the little towel on her head like this. She had to look at the towel like she didn't even know what to do. My man just stood in front of her. He was like bathing it, and then he hit her with a shadow type, like, you can't handle the holy sword. And I was just like, I was dying. That has to be one of the best moments in anime, like, in recent memory. Like, epic. This anime is just so good. It's just so good. Like, that that's if you ever want to know what my type of sense of humor is, kind of like what I get my rocks off on, like that scene right there, like that 2 or 3 minutes embodies what I absolutely love in media and in anime specifically. Like that was just incredible. All right, I have gushed enough. The rest of the episode, though, involved Alexia. This is where the amazing plot and story and character world building comes in. But the rest of the episode involved Alexia trying to conduct her audit. They're in place of the archbishop that died. There's a new bishop, a bald one that is in place. He looks hella evil. Alexia's kind of caught on to that. He basically says, we can't do your audit right now. The goddess trial takes precedent. We saw him doing some voodoo magic with the goddess trial stuff. The goddess trial stuff starts. Everybody knows this is some kind of scam. At least those are the ones that are kind of in the know looking at it. That includes that includes Alpha, that includes Beta, that includes the girls, that includes Alexia. They kind of know that, right? Then the goddess thing actually starts. And we see Beta there, she's giving her love. She's there in the stand. She's being honored. She makes Alexia feel very vulnerable because of her assets that she has. Like every girl who sees Beta just, is like, oh my God, no. And Beta's just judging this Alexia girl. She's like, yo, what is Shadow like? How dare you be? And she was like, and she looked at her, and Alexia was like, I ain't taking this shit. She gets Beta, and I was like, yeah, I love Alexia so much. And they kind of tussle for like a little bit, and then the goddess thing starts, and Sid gets called onto the stage, right? So Sid gets called up to the stage, and he's like, yo, what the F me? What the freak? And we find out that Aurelia, Princess Aurelia, had entered freaking Sid into this competition. Like, what a jerk for doing that. And he's like, I have 3 options. He's like, I either do it, I get reprimanded by the church, or option 3, make an appearance as Shadow. He does, and he summons an ancient warrior, which is awesome, called Aurora, the Witch of Calamity. She's obviously being held back by magic, because even Sid noticed it. He's like, if I were to fight you full tilt, like real, like this would have been a legit fight. But instead, he defeats her, and he basically breaks the chains, breaks the barriers of everything. Whatever the church was hiding, he breaks the barriers, and then that shit gets unleashed. And that's kind of where we got left off on this episode. But amazing Sakuga, amazing fight, amazing story, world building, a plot, nice cliffhanger, amazing humor. Like, this episode absolutely nailed everything that I love about anime, and Eminence in Shadow just continues to be one of those anime that I think is just, it separates itself from the rest. Now, what I will say is I think this is the last week for Eminence in Shadow. I believe that they're taking a 2-week hiatus, and we're going to be back in January with episode 12 and 13 and kind of the continuation. If for some reason episode 12 does come out next week, which would be the 21st, which I don't think it is. I think that's their bye week there. If episode 12 comes out, then they might be taking a hiatus for January. I can't find any official notice of this, but I know they're going to go on a 2-week hiatus, though, into January at some point. So one of 2 things is going to happen, my friends. I'll either be back next week on the 21st to talk about episode 12, or their hiatus is going to start on the 21st, and they'll be back probably in January. So regardless, one of 2 things, I'll either see you guys next week, or I'll see you in January for winter 2023 anime, where I'll continue to be covering Eminence in Shadow because I love this anime. All right, my friends, stay good, stay classy, happy holidays, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.